Parents of tweens, if you're familiar with far-off drop-offs...
Dad, stop, right here.
Or get DMs about what's for dinner, you may be experiencing tween milestones. For your son or daughter, these can start at age 9. HPV vaccination, a type of cancer prevention against certain HPV-related cancers, can start then too.
For most, HPV clears on its own. But for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers later in life.
Embrace this phase. Help protect them in the next.
Ask their doctor today about HPV vaccination. Brought to you by Merck.
You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus.
Trying to explore some nature here in the hometown area of Dayton, Ohio, where I grew up. I had just spent some time out at Mound Park. We're going to talk about that on this episode of Me and Paranormal You. So many bunnies. Just passing through, friend. Just passing through. I love seeing all these bunnies, rabbits, everywhere. It's an interesting difference between the jackrabbit and the rabbit. Out west, saw a lot of jackrabbits, those long stems, those long legs that they have. Maybe that ties in to the 12-foot skeleton unearthed at the mound, the Miamisburg Mound, which was at one point, it's a earthwork due to the Adena Native American culture. What do we got here? Eagle Scout Project. It's about 90 degrees outside. This is what a lizard likes. Hole Creek. God, I gotta get into a river or something. Here's something cute. Where are y'all going? How's the water down there? Some cute ducklings. Looks like 6 of them following a mama. There's a little creek right here. Everybody's having babies. So here we go. We're going to get into some details about the Miamisburg Mound, which is the second oldest earthwork in the eastern United States, if I'm not mistaken. But so we're going to get into some details that I pulled after making a quick visit out there the other day. I can't believe I'd never been out there. But some information. I'm pulling these from different sources like thegreatamericanhikes.com and some other sites. I'll be dropping in some photos that I took, as well as some other photos, specifically an illustration from 1885 from, I believe it's from something written called the Prehistoric Times. And it gives you an idea of what it may have looked like back in the day. Now, just a little bit of history from the area. Miamisburg is a suburb of Dayton, Ohio, which is the area of which, in southern Ohio, of which I grew up in, the area of Dayton, Ohio. And Miamisburg is kind of like a southwestern suburb of Dayton. It's southwest of Dayton. It's pretty close to the river, the Miami River. So you have a major water source that the Miami River kind of goes through downtown Dayton, splits north and south Dayton from itself, kind of like the area I love in Alabama, Florence, Alabama, and then you have the Tennessee River, and then just on the other side you have Sheffield, which is a neighborhood I really, really like, and Muscle Shoals right next to that. A very common practice for city centers or for conglomerations of people to find themselves, setting up shop close to water. Reminds me of anytime you ever hear people talking about squatching or going looking for Bigfoot, always looking for a water source as well, because animals of all kinds need water to survive, including human beings. So the Miami River goes through this area. It's also it's called the Miami Valley because the glaciers have come through and shaped this area. So there's undulating hills everywhere. It's not like San Francisco, you might be wondering, but it's a valley. And we are part of the Miami Valley here. And Miami River, and you have Miamisburg. Now, the indigenous people of this area were the Adena, Adena. And it is thought to believe that the Miamisburg Mound could be anywhere from 1000 to 400 BC is when it was first beginning to be constructed. This is a conical mound, okay? So anywhere from 65 to 70 feet tall and about 1 to 1.5 acres surface area is what it takes up, according to different reports. Let's see what Dan Wagner has to say. He says that it stands as a testament to the remarkable engineering and cultural achievements of ancient Native American civilizations. This magnificent earthwork, shrouded in history and mystery, we'll get into the mystery in a little bit, rises majestically in Miamisburg, a suburb of Dayton, 65 feet high and covering an expansive area. It is one of the most significant and enigmatic ancient mounds in the United States. In fact, it ranks as the second largest conical mound in eastern North America, second only to West Virginia's Grave Creek Mound. Now, where does the cutoff of eastern United States, central United States, western United States, where does all that happen? Your guess is as good as mine. The Adena were one of North America's earliest indigenous cultures, at least that we know of. And they thrived in the Ohio Valley from about 1000 BC to 200 BC. While the exact age of the mound remains a topic of debate among archaeologists, radiocarbon dating has been done on the mound and the contents within the mound. There has been one excavation done, I believe it was 1869. And the radiocarbon dating would suggest that the mound, the construction of the mound began around 100 BC, which is 2,100 years ago, which in the United States, that's old. Not even the United States, North America, let's say it that way, right? It's a beautiful spot. It's a city park, essentially. It is a historical landmark. If you're ever in the Southern Ohio, the Dayton area, I highly suggest you go check it out. You're not going to need to make a whole day of it. And now there are interesting technology companies situated around the mound. Maybe we can get into that a little bit. I haven't had time to really snoop into what these companies are and what they're building or what their focus is. But it seems like there's something going on out here. Now, keep in mind, this is also not too far away from Wright-Patt Air Force Base. If I had to guess, maybe 25 miles max, 25 to 30 miles at the most away from Wright-Patt Air Force Base, which is northwest of Dayton in Fairborn, where my alma mater, Wright State University, is located. Right there, that's where the Air Force Base is. And as you know, we've got all those connections to the UFOs, to, Air Force intelligence is based out of, or at least was based out of Wright-Patt Air Force Base. There are all kinds of stories about how many levels does it go down underground, how many, basement does it go like 2 miles underneath the surface. Wherever you are in Dayton, people are like, you could be on top of a part of Wright-Patt Air Force Base. Now, when I say people in Dayton, I mean me and my friends. So Anyway, let's get into some more mound information. 1869 was the year that an excavation took place. Now, about 8 feet down from the top of the structure, they found basically a wooden tomb, and they found a skeleton in there. This is not the 12-foot skeleton that you may have heard of. They went further down and they found an empty tomb. What was in that, or was there something in that and it was not reported? I'm not sure, but an empty tomb leaves people wondering. Meanwhile, there are other potential reasons there's an empty space in there that don't all have to do with the 12-foot skeleton was stolen or taken out because they didn't want people to know that the giants roam the earth. So giants roam the earth. This is, I guess, a question that, we don't ask that often, but giants roam the earth. Okay. Now what? Where did they go? Who were they? Why are we not talking about it? The better question is, what would be the reason to withhold this information? Why cover it up? What groundbreaking revelation is connected to such a piece of information that we don't want people knowing? I don't know off the top of my head what that even could be. I don't know. I have to, I deal with this in the world of the paranormal all the time. Flat earthers have made a comeback, which is astonishing to me. And they are, what's the word? Stubborn, to say the least. They believe that the earth is flat and there's a firmament, and Elon Musk's rockets keep blowing up because they hit the firmament, and it's like we're all trapped in here. And everything you've ever seen about space or otherwise is fabricated as a fabricated movie, video, or something that's made up to perpetuate the lie that the earth is round. Meanwhile, you go back, hundreds of years, or if not longer. I can't remember the exact year that, all the Copernicus stuff in the sun is the center of the universe. The earth is no longer the center of the universe. You were a kook when you thought the earth was round. Now you're a kook if you think the earth is flat, because people used to think the earth was flat. So I guess the conspiracy has something to do with they didn't want us to know the truth, so they made us believe a falsehood. I don't know. Part of me wants to, part of me wonders if it's not connected to some kind of like Christianity, fascism. All this conspiracy stuff is completely out of control. They're all tied together. The same people who think the earth is flat are the same people who are denying the Holocaust and other things. Now, all that aside, that's just a tangent about giants, right? Like, the Nephilim and, the Watchers on the Wall, the Book of Enoch, and all these things that come from that. Jeremiah Sitchin is the source. Jeremiah Sitchin is the source of all of that and his writings. Was he able to do his own interpretation and actually get the information and actually know all of this? Is he channeling the information? You know what I mean? I remember very early on in the podcast, I got into the Nephilim and the giants and all that stuff, right? And let's be honest, it's intriguing, right? It's got all the elements of a sexy conspiracy and things like that. There's religious implications, there's Armageddon, there's apocalypse, there's there's magic, there's angels and all this, there's the crossbreeding of angels and humans, and there's gold, right? And gold's involved. And fun names like the Anunnaki, right? So, and then someone messaged me and they said, please don't waste your time reading all of Jeremiah Sitchin's books. And so then it made me go into a deeper dive into the whole Jeremiah Sitchin thing, and it wasn't that deep that I had to go before I abandoned it, because I had been satisfied, as they say. My curiosity had been satisfied that I no longer needed to go down the Jeremiah Sitchin rabbit hole and get in any of that, because it didn't seem to be really based in any kind of, truth or fact. But here we are in the explosion of the internet, people in Reddit and all these other message boards and paranormal podcasts. And I am so far removed. And for me, when I say far removed, I mean probably at least 7 or 8 years removed from even looking into all of that stuff, that I don't even remember the specific reasons why I discarded my quest to understand more about the truth that Sitchin was laying out, because I was convinced that it very, very likely was not truth at all. And I had been satisfied and abandoned that quest for the Anunnaki and all this other stuff, right? And the Nephilim. And yet here we are years later where this stuff persists. And like I said, it's very stubborn. And more people are bringing it up. More and more people who go into a rabbit hole of conspiracy find themselves in the world of Christianity, which is strange to me. Christianity is an amalgamation of older religions. It is a patchwork of ancient beliefs that came before it. And if I sound a little bitter about Christianity, it's because the United States of America is in a Christian fascist state currently, with all these whack jobs trying to bring about the second coming of Jesus, which isn't going to happen because he wasn't a god. These are just my beliefs, right? And it's just also wild and crazy to me. That if you believe in apocalypse and you believe in the prophecy of Armageddon and you find yourself to be one of these true believer maniacs, I guess you would, I don't know, you believe that all this stuff is possible, but you also believe that you have to help it happen. Like, how is that part of it? I don't remember reading in the book of Armageddon about Mike Johnson, a politician from the state of Louisiana. I mean, the state of Louisiana's got to do something about the people down there who are representing them. They just don't care about them. So hopefully they can do that. Anyway, I don't know how these conspiracies end up going back into, but because it's all very fantastical thinking, right? And listen, as someone who's into the paranormal and has had, pretty intense paranormal experiences, I understand what it's like to be on the fringes, on the outside, looking in, understanding that people don't believe you. But there's a big difference between experiencing something, knowing something, and just believing a story that someone else tells, right? And we talk about this a lot in the world of the paranormal. All we have, and I believe all we really truly have in this life, are stories. Stories that we tell ourselves, stories that we are experiencing, and stories that are shared with us from other people. And within those stories, we find truth. And within those stories, we also find entertainment. And the explosion of the entertainment world through the internet has, changed the entirety of the entertainment business. But this isn't a podcast about the entertainment business. But, clowns become prophets. And I don't understand necessarily why that happens. And I don't understand why comedians have the most popular podcasts in the world, other than the fact that we are very used to talking nonstop for people, stream of consciousness style, or prepared or written or whatever. It's what we do for a living. So, and if the more opinionated and the stronger your opinion is, the more popular you become. If you present yourself as an expert, there are a lot of people out there who will believe that you are an expert, whether that's on UFOs or on ghosts, on, parallel realities, about spiritual evolution and spiritual laws, about manifestation, about whatever you want to pick in this world of paranormal or spirituality or new age woo-woo, which, I'm a woo-woo wild one. I love that stuff. You present yourself as an expert and you tell people you have the answer. A lot of people are going to be like, I'm not going to listen to this. But there's a lot of other people who are going to be like, I'm on board. Tell me more. So when we come into the world of conspiracy theories, now we have people who are claiming to be experts on the mystery piece, right? Something that's missing out of the circle, of the logical circle, right? Add on to that, sprinkle on, season onto it with this is all taking place in a frying pan, right? And that frying pan has been greased with, and everybody's frying pan is greased differently, right? It's like, this is your brain on drugs, this is your brain on conspiracy theories, which egg gets fried harder. And, everybody's olive oil or butter is different. What did you grow up with? What was your programming? Or what was the belief system? What were the stories that you were told as a kid that now maybe even unknowingly inform our willingness or unwillingness to believe certain narratives? For me, I was raised in the Catholic religion, went to Catholic school for 12 years. I fight intensely against any Christian narrative when it comes to the end of the world or, Christianity forcing its way into the paranormal world as far as, aliens, UFOs, ghosts, all this other kind of stuff, right? I'm not here for that. I'm not, let me say it a better way. I'm not interested in that for me in my life. And I honestly don't believe that we are living in a world that is headed towards the second coming of a guy named Jesus. I just don't think that's the reality. What is my reality? That's not important. What's important is, can we be aware of our biases? Can we understand why we react? I mean, my skin crawls when people start wanting to throw Jesus into the UFO conversation. And it's not the best reaction. And I don't want to react like that, right? And I'm not here to tell someone what their story is. And I don't want to be the person who ever tells someone else what their story is or what it should be. Much in the same way, none of us like being told what to do or what to believe. Currently we live in a world that doesn't believe in science. I get text messages constantly from my mom about vaccines and how I need to do these things to undo vaccines. I still believe in science. I still believe in vaccines. I don't believe in the pandemic narrative, all that stuff. That's me. You're allowed to believe whatever you want, I suppose. Now, we live in a world where you hear this a lot. Well, what's so wrong with questioning it? And question everything. Certain things have been decided. Okay, and for example, the Holocaust, one of the most studied historical events in all of human history. And yet there are people out there still trying to poke holes in the Holocaust. I don't believe it either, but it's true and it's happening. Now, will people be trying to poke holes in the current genocide that's happening in Gaza? Most certainly. And they're trying to deny it and act like it's not happening now, as it's right in front of our face. All you have to do is get on TikTok and you'll be able to see all the horrible atrocities that are happening. And meanwhile, comedian clowns have been chosen to be the mouthpiece of information for people. And it's bonkers. How did we start at the Miamisburg Mound and end up here? You might be asking yourself. Well, it's about giants. So all of this, giants are just a symptom, right? Like, giants are just a piece of the puzzle, of the mystery, of the unknown, of the fantastical, seemingly fantastical. The word giant even has magic attached to it. And when we come back, we're going to dive more into this supposed giant skeleton found right here in Dayton, Ohio at the Miamisburg Mound. Is there any reason you should believe it? Well, let's find out. We're going to be right back after a short break. And we're back. Let's go to nephilimgiants.net for this next piece of information regarding the Miamisburg Mound and the Nephilim, or the giants. This is allegedly in the Daily Telegraph, January 21st, 1899. gigantic body recovered. The body of a man more gigantic than ever recorded in human history has been unearthed in the Miami Valley, Ohio. The skeleton is calculated must have belonged to a man 8 feet and 1/2 inches in height. It was found within a half mile of Miamisburg, in a locality which contains many relics of the mound builders. Edward Gebhardt and Edward Kaufman discovered it while they were working in a gravel pit. Kaufman struck the hard substance with his pick and, on examining it, found it to be a skull. When they unearthed the whole skeleton and finally realized its size, they were aghast. The skeleton is of prehistoric age, being fossilized. Its gigantic proportions present a puzzling problem to archaeologists. Here is clearly a man, and a very well-formed and well-proportioned one as to the limbs. His skull is of an extremely low order, being but a shade higher than that of Pithecanthropus erectus, found by Dr. Dubois in Java. It is far below that the most degraded living type. The prehistoric giant must have had a head that differed little from that of a gorilla. Here's the problem. You read into some of this stuff, and you read about a guy who was trying to sell books, and he paid someone to carve into a tablet to make it look ancient. And this all came out in court when the guy said that, the boss person wasn't paying them. We can go find another piece of information. Sorry, I'm blocking myself here on the camera. This is that 8.5 foot skeleton thing. Let's see. This is the actual newspaper article. It looks like, the Daily Telegraph. The body of a man more gigantic. Yes. Okay. So, it is the opinion of the scientists who have carefully inspected the skull that the man must have been a vegetarian, a root eater, as the teeth would not have been found in such perfect condition after the lapse of centuries had their owner been a masticator of meats. So this is in the paper, right? So 8 1/2 inches, it looks like. I'm not seeing 8.5, which would be a that'd be a tall boy, right? For back then. So the question becomes, this giant body was discovered and recovered, disrecovered. This article goes on to say on greaterancestors.com, there's an old theory that there were giants here. And so if you go back in all this, it is in fact and generally agreed that prehistoric men were little, dark, monkey-like hairy creatures considerably smaller than those of the present day. This prehistoric giant seems evidence of the opposite state of affairs. He is clearly a man and very well formed and very well proportioned one as to the limbs. His skull is, the skeleton was found interred in an upright position with the knees doubled up and the skull dropping between them. Jawbones are intact and show that the possessor was patterned in the most powerful fashion. The body was not the only relic of interest to those engaged in scientific research, what they found in the pit here. A small flat stone about 3 inches long and 2 inches wide was discovered in the opening. It lay within a few inches of the skull of the prehistoric man. As the local examiners insist, the find should be termed. So evidently the work of, it is pointed out by those who have had their theory of the species of the discovery questioned that the stone, so evidently the work of human hands, clearly indicates that the skeleton was that of a man and not of a mammoth monkey. The bones have been placed on exhibition, and many are the curious sightseers who have passed in wonder before them. It is claimed by the residents of the Miami Valley that a prehistoric race once inhabited that region and created the largest mound in the country, leaving their evidence of the presence fragments of pottery and stone and pieces of woven cloth made of bark. a Middletown man apparently offered a fancy piece for 2 of the molars, which he then placing in his jaw, where his own have decayed and they could not be secured. Oh gosh, I mean, you know, there's sketches of this body. Let me see if this link works. I'm kind of doing this all in real time here. I'm gonna have to drop this in. So I'll do a right click and we'll save this bad boy here. We'll save this image as I'm talking now, so I don't forget it. And this is what we'll be looking at right now as we're chatting. I mean, listen, it's interesting, and you know, there's a reason that the conversation about giants persists. And first of all, it's interesting, it's fascinating. Apparently, there is at least reports of evidence, and you know, let's look. Let's see here. Let's dig a little bit deeper and see what happens when we say, you know, 8.5 giant bones, skeleton on display, evidence. Something like, just cobble it all together, right? You know, then there's AI who's going to get involved in the conversation anytime you want to Google anything now. And AI will tell you that these accounts are generally not considered credible evidence of a distinct race of giants. You know, it goes on to talk about mentions of 8.5-foot skeletons shipped to the Smithsonian. Some were 8 to 10 feet tall, which were later repatriated or disappeared within the museum system. So why are these disappearing? Basically, if the further we dive into this, the more difficult it becomes to find that the claim isn't just recycled every handful of years, starts making its rounds, and on social media specifically, and people think it's real, and then it has to get debunked again, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know who would know about this? My buddy Mikey Leisner and Bubs over at Strange Road. I got to get in touch with those guys because they have a connection to, well, we know Jeff Wilson's been on the show. He is, I don't know, maybe one of the foremost historians, or the foremost historian on earthworks, specifically in this area. And I know for a fact, I'm throwing the word fact around incorrectly probably, I have a very good feeling that Mikey and Bubs actually know somebody who I need to get on this show, and we need to talk about giants, and I'm going to try to set that up ASAP for us. So I got just a reminder that watching the podcast is it's probably the way to go if you can when it comes to some of these, especially when it comes to the evidential aspect of some of the things out on my journeys, out on my investigations, or just on my traveling when I'm out here on the float. I've been calling them the float files over at the Patreon page. Reminder, no commercials ever if you do $3 a month over at the Patreon page. Thanks to all the patrons who have been over there. I've been doing the float files over there where I'm posting photos and some other things over there, and just, you know, thoughts as I'm traveling around the country. I'm going to be on the road for at least about another month and a half. I've been out there maybe 5 weeks or so, maybe 6 weeks now already. So, I've got these. I want to show you these. I've got these. I'm wearing my buddy Francis's Curiosities shirt in Austin. But I just got these, my buddy Torkel over at OCP, October Custom Publishing. Just got these shirts done for me. Naps over nukes. It's backwards because of the camera here. Naps over nukes. That's the t-shirt I'll be selling out on the road. It's got my website there on the bottom. The super soft t-shirts that my buddy Torkel hooks up for me every time. More about OCP, I think maybe on next week's episode. As well. I mean, just if you ever need any kind of custom publishing done, you got to go to October Custom Publishing. If you've seen me wearing a t-shirt at all in the last 2 years, it's one of their shirts. Basically, with the exception of this shirt, my Bigfoot shirt that my buddy gave to me on a trip to Asheville many years ago, and like my crystallized shirt. Other than that, I'm wearing OCP shirts. So yeah. Okay, so back to the show. Now, I am not here to tell you the giants aren't real. And in fact, I lean towards that it's likely that there have been giant skeletons found. Now, we can get into the conspiratorial aspect about the Smithsonian. People believe that the Smithsonian essentially single-handedly or multi-handedly are covering up the giant skeletons, that they are the ones destroying evidence of the giant skeletons. Are you inclined to believe that? Or is it more likely that maybe these giant skeletons, in fact, were never given to the Smithsonian, and that's why there's not displays? It would seem that a giant human skeleton display probably wouldn't ever get boring. And what I mean by that is the giant human skeleton display is probably always going to be happening at the Smithsonian. It's a permanent piece. I don't know what a museum curator would call that, but I don't know what oversized skeletons, giant skeletons, the Nephilim, the Book of Enoch. Are we here mining gold for the Anunnaki? I mean, why does it have to be gold? Who cares about gold? You think it confounds me a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you. So, some other current events that are happening in the world of the paranormal. We got to touch base on this. I wanted to touch base on this. Lou Elizondo, who, as you know, he's a spook, right? I believe that I am inclined to believe, let me say it this way. I am inclined to believe that Lou Elizondo is not a man that we can trust with the UFO, UAP narrative. I believe that he is out there trying to scare people. He is out there trying to drum up military funding, et cetera, national defense, blah, blah, blah. We should be afraid. Lou Elizondo's I'm not on team Lou Elizondo. And it's funny because my good buddy Greg, he's been on the show before, skeptical, but he's the guy who's been cracking for years, right? And actually lives out here in this area and has seen things, strange lights over by the mound area late at night. We just had I was over there very recently visiting him and his wife, and they got these 2 little kittens, and kittens and puppies it's bonkers. It's bonkers. I think they're like, I want to start up a live stream channel that's just 24 hours of at any given time, I have somewhere from 4 to 6 kittens just on camera. That is must watch television. Maybe throw a couple puppies in there, 2 puppies, 4 kittens, and they're just so fun to watch. And they're so adorable. But what was I talking about? Project Serpo. We had this really fun conversation about Project Serpo. I got to get Greg back on the program because he will say that there are only 2 reasons why he believes that the UFOs and UAPs might be real and the paranormal stuff might be real. And but anyway, and the Serpo thing is one of them, which is interesting because if you follow this, if you're a UFO head, if you're a ufonaut, you know that Project Serpo goes way back, right? What is it, late 80s, early 90s? We're talking about the beginnings of message boards on the internet. And Richard Doty, which is probably a name you recognize, as a different disinformation agent working for the United States government. He's a spook. And he's still in the world of ufology, which I mean, but but I'm telling the truth now is his thing, right? So, I don't know. It's so murky. And then the trickster presents itself on every level and in every form in all of this stuff, right? In the paranormal world, the UFO world. So, Richard Doty was one of the key figures in the Project Serpo information and all that stuff coming out. And, later exposed as a disinformation agent, Project Serpo kind of gets written off. I keep being I have at least 2 different people in my life that implore me regularly to not write off Project Serpo like I have previously. Much in the same way I've written off the Jeremiah Sitchin stuff. I mean, how many times can you have to go over this stuff and try to before you decide that, oh no, I was right the first time I wrote all this BS off. But the well has been tainted. The well has been poisoned on the Project Serpo well. The water has been poisoned by Richard Doty, self-admitting disinformation agent who currently still remains in the ufology world as a source. I don't know. You do the math on that. It confounds me. But I will say this. Black Butte, it's out there. It's part of Mount Shasta, essentially. And this is a major component, a key location in the Project Serpo story. And it is one of the reasons, if not 40% out of the 100, that I love Mount Shasta so much. So, as further evidence of the hypocritical nature of all people, including myself, I'll sit over here and tell you I wrote off the Project Serpo story as total garbage and bogus information because the well has been poisoned by a disinformation agent. Meanwhile, my favorite place on Earth, ? Is heavily influenced because of my fascination originally with the Project Serpo story. Whether it's the Lemurians or the alien-human exchange program that happened, and many, and with Black Butte being a component of where maybe this Stargate or where this exchange happened, I'm a little rusty on some of the details. It's one of the reasons I love Mount Shasta so much. Because, essentially Black Butte it's literally right there. You could walk there in the same afternoon from the base of Mount Shasta. You could get to Black Butte. I tried to take my car there. This was back when I had just a 2006 Toyota Camry. I got nervous. And we didn't go very far because I was worried about my car getting stuck out there because it's unpaved roads, it's things like that. But there is a hiking trail to get to the top of Black Butte, which I will be doing the next time I get out in that area to Mount Shasta, which hopefully will be on my return trip from the Midwest to California. Oh, Karen Montowski and I are doing some shows in upstate New York in August. We are doing some paranormal comedy shows. Basically, we're going to be doing some storytelling and then I believe some investigating. I have to double check on some of the details. All those details will be coming out soon. But I want you to know I got almost 100 of these Naps Over Nuke shirts. So this whole episode is not going to be just me pitching my shirt, but I'll be selling those for $25. If you want one, you're not going to see me at a show. I've got small to XX. So you can hit me up and I'll be posting these on the socials, I'm sure. And I'd be happy to mail you some shirts through Venmo or PayPal, etc. because I need to sell these things. You know what I mean? So yeah. But okay, any hoodles. We are going to dive back into Project Serpo, and I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. And I really don't want to get back into Jeremiah Sitchin. There's too much other stuff. I have at least a few hours of footage. If you watch the last episode, the last 20 minutes or so is Skywatch video, where you can see all kinds of anomalous lights happening and moving in strange directions, which I implore you, are not airplanes and or satellites or helicopters or some other terrestrial known light source or object. So I have hours of that kind of footage from basically that same area, that same location. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, other than potentially, just kind of throwing it out there. Just kind of maybe put it up on the YouTube. And if you want to watch 40 minutes of just nighttime sky watching where you will see lights moving around, I say go ahead. Put it up there for public consumption just so they can see. I think that's probably the direction I'm headed. I'll just remove the audio probably and maybe put some chill music on it. Something like that. I don't know. I got to find the right music, I guess. I have to make some music or get some music for it. But, so that's also going to be happening. Maybe there'll be bonus features for the podcast. Maybe that'll be some stuff I'll throw up on the Patreon, et cetera, et cetera. Patreon.com/Ryan Singer. I think we got to take our last break. Let's do that. I don't know if we've done that already. If we haven't done that already, we got to do that now. And we're back. Let's put a bow on this bad boy, shall we? In summation, what we're dealing with here is we kind of got into the Giants a little bit, and I started, rambling about lots of other things, obviously, because such is the nature of how I do this show. The Miamisburg Mound. Was there an 8-foot, 1 1/2 inch or half-inch giant skeleton found there? Modern archaeologists would argue that there is no evidence for such claims. I have put a call out to my buddy Mikey, and maybe I'll talk to him and Bubs about it. Get to the bottom of this Smithsonian cover-up. There are people out there who have dedicated large portions of time into studying and researching this giant issue, and I am not one of those people. It's been a long time since I've gotten into the giant thing. I'm waiting to hear back from Mikey. I'm hoping this will happen in live time right now, where a message will pop up on this computer screen back here while I'm filming this. I just sent a message that said, hey, I need to talk to you about giants. Fact or fiction, I can't take it anymore. So let's see if the very busy Mr. Mikey will get back to us. I should have group texted. I should have pasted Bubs on there. I was trying to do it real quick as we took a short break. But like I said, modern archaeologists would say that there is no claim or there's no evidence to those claims that the giant skeletons. Now, did the Smithsonian do a cover-up? It seems big. The question we have to ask ourselves is why? To what end? What does the revelation about giants, what big Pandora's box does that open? Well, one could argue that it busts the lid off of, potentially some religion stories, potentially some evolution stories. But those are two groups that don't like each other when it comes to origin stories. I mean, I don't even want to get into that. I'm not even going to get into this idea of the Creation Museum and the Ark Encounter and all this other. I hear enough commercials for it when I'm just trying to listen to a baseball game. Can we have separation of church and sport, please? It's crazy. Okay, so as it stands now, I don't know. Do I or don't I? Can't say one way or the other. Now, there are some interesting developments that I want to just tease out here a little bit on the show for you. I've been teasing for a while a big reveal here on the program. Still not in a spot to be able to reveal what's happening there. But some friends of the show also have some big announcements. If you've been following, and if you listen to this show, I suspect you do. If you've been following the Euphomet Instagram, have you noticed something, maybe a familiar face or two on the Euphomet Instagram, but in very unfamiliar places? I mean, what is going on over there? That looked, they are outside the country. So we can only imagine we'll have to get Jim Perry on this program talking about just what in good Zeus's name he's doing overseas. And what does it have to do with the paranormal? Maybe we'll get Matthew Jackson back on this program. Maybe I'll text Matthew Jackson right now and be like, hey, I'm in the Midwest. Let me come to your house tomorrow and stay the night and talk about all these awesome articles you've written lately. Are you following Obscuravox? I'm going to get Matthew Jackson right now. Let me see if I can't. This is bonkers. This is not the way it's supposed to be. Matt, here's the thing. Do you have one of these friends that constantly texts you like through Instagram, then through Facebook, then through text message? I've got a couple of these friends, and I'm going to be honest with you, they drive me bonkers when they do it this way. I can't, it's got to be on my phone, and I can't do it right now. So, but basically, I'm gonna let you be here for this as we walk through this right now. This is in real time. I'm gonna message him and see if he gets back to me, because I think he's back from this trip. So maybe he'll be able to tease a little bit about maybe what's happening. Oh, there it is. Here we go. I'll just type, hey buddy, you around tomorrow? Maybe I'll pass through and stay at your house indefinitely, as you have a home and a wife and a life. Hey buddy, you around tomorrow? I may pass through. Let's see if he might get back to me pretty quickly. Matt doesn't want you to know this, but he's absolutely addicted to his Facebook Messenger. That's not true. Now, there's another friend of the show that we are going to get back on the show at some point soon. My buddy Dash, talking about big news regarding the paranormal investigation series Liminal. Have you checked out Liminal yet? Check out Liminal. You're going to love it. They did a completely successful, awesome Kickstarter for future funding for episodes that we talked about here the last time they were on the show. That was a success. Now there's other news that they got, and I'll be excited to share it with you. And we've already talked about having another chat. Now, here's a promise I'm going to make to you. Before the end of this summer, on this program, because now we're doing video, I promise you that on this show, on this programming, on this podcast, I am going to be presenting to you a barrage of evidence all summer from any investigations I do. In fact, let's end this one. No, let's do that next time. I'm teasing for the next time. Because I don't know if you've seen it, because it clearly got suppressed on my YouTube because there's like 20 views, which is insane. But the Instagram has, 6,000 views on the reel, but it's crazy. The Dan Butler Bigfoot footage. I am going to put that on the episode next week, and we're going to go through that. Or maybe we'll do 2 episodes. As you're listening to this, maybe there'll be a second episode this week. And I'm going to put that footage, I'm going to show you the edited version, and we're going to walk through that video, and I'm going to explain why that video is so compelling to me and to Dan Butler specifically, and to other people in the know about Sasquatch and Bigfoot, etc. But in the meantime, I hope to see you in Peoria, Illinois. And then I'll be at the Renwick Mansion in Davenport, Iowa on Sunday. What is that? July 9th, 13th. So July 13th. So that means the 11th and 12th, I'll be at the Jukebox Comedy Club in Peoria. 13th, I will be at the Renwick Mansion, the haunted Renwick Mansion, where I have stayed before and captured a very, very cool, ITC response of pizza. If you remember that from a few years back. And then the following week, going to be Go Bananas Comedy Club in Cincinnati, recording a brand new album. Please come out if you're anywhere close by. Come out to Cincinnati. I'm going to be recording that album all weekend, Thursday through Sunday. Then the following weekend after that, I'll be at the Comedy Attic in Bloomington, Indiana. Who knows? Come out to one of those shows. You might even see Matthew Jackson hanging out at one of those shows. Those are Friday and Saturday. And then after that, then later I'll be going to, I'll be in Nashville. We got it. August 3rd. I'll be with Chris Crofton, my buddy Chris Crofton, who's got a new documentary out called Nashville Famous. It is an awesome documentary. I've already seen it. A younger version of me is in that documentary. And then I'll be in Asheville, North Carolina. I got to hit up my hot alien summer camp buddies to see if they're going to be around in that area, to see if they're going to be around to hang out a little bit. So, yeah, thanks again. And again, I will announce those dates that I've got with Rontowski, but it's, we're doing her birthday. So keep that in mind. It's going to be, I think, the 15th, 16th, 17th of August. I don't have a calendar in front of me right now, unfortunately. Sorry. But we're doing Friday, Saturday, Sunday in upstate New York. I'm going to go try to give Paranormal Karen some company at her place in Utica, and we're going to have a great time. Karen and I always have a great time. We will be doing storytelling at these shows. So something a little bit different, but something very unique and very fun. And then potentially doing some investigating. But anyway, so thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate that. And we'll see you, we'll see you at the watering hole on the astral. Oh, I guess the only reason we do that is because if I'm not seeing you at the live show, I should say, then I guess I'll just see you at the watering hole on the astral plane.